I almost got kissed by the enemy, but he paid the price. During the wartime, life doesn't mean too much. Life is not a priority. It's doing what you're told to do, and you do it. That's the scary thing. I'll never forget landing on Iwo Jima. Them thoughts have been with me forever. You were constantly under fire, day and night for 35 days.
Hey everyone, for those who don't know, I'm Rishi Sharma. I'm the creator of this World War II channel, and I'm on a mission to meet and interview every single World War II veteran. We have an incredible testimony today for you guys with the World War II hero named Robert Rickman. He saw a lot of action on Iwo Jima. He has some extremely harrowing tales that I'm very excited to share with you guys, and it was really a big honor to meet and document his story for future generations. It costs a lot of money to travel and meet these World War II veterans. For those who follow this channel for a while, I'm sure you know I don't take a salary. All the donations we get goes directly to getting more of these heroes on camera while they're still with us. So for anyone out there that cares about World War II veterans and wants their stories to be documented for future generations, please consider donating at Remember WW2.org. Every contribution helps that many more veterans get their stories documented. Thank you so much. I also want to give a big shout out to the Stanley W. Ekstrom Foundation. They're an incredible charity that has helped provide financial support for these interviews recently. And I also want to thank Garrett Bolus for his continued contributions on a monthly basis to get these stories of the World War II veterans on camera. I wish you guys the best, and God bless.
My name is Robert Rickman. I was a United States Marine with the 5th Division. I fought on the island of Iwo Jima where I was wounded. What was the Marine Corps? To me, the whole thing was this: learning how to take orders and to believe in the orders that you're taking were the right ones. That was the key to making the United States Marines what they are today. Kill or be killed. That definitely became a symbol of my thoughts anyway, that to learn and to do, and which we did each and every day. Learn how to use a rifle, learn how to clean a rifle, learn how to survive, learn how to dig a foxhole, survive underwater, climbing these rope ladders and doing these runs and these marches, and you could die if you didn't believe in how they wanted you to react. So that is the whole thing. Besides physically building me up with the food and the exercises and the handling of a loaded rifle and the killing of another person. We got aboard ship and we didn't know where we were going, but wouldn't you believe it? We wound up in Hawaii. We thought, boy, this is great duty. Here we are in Hawaii. But little did we know, we trained there for some weeks, not knowing why or where we were going, because you never, that definitely was a secret. Well, we boarded ship from Hawaii after a month or two there, and we're on our way to the island of Iwo Jima. Never hearing of this island before, or never knowing what was ahead of us. My outfit was assigned to be in the 3rd wave on the 19th of February, 1945.
Could you please describe the naval and aerial bombardment of Iwo Jima from your position aboard the troop ship? Paint the picture for us, please.
At night, you could only see the flashes, but that next morning, with the sunlight, with daylight coming, it was a constant barrage of Navy ships shooting their big firing their big guns at the island at different points in the island. They were especially bombarding the mountain, the Mount Suribachi. Squadrons of planes would come in droves, planes after the bombing. As we could watch it that month, you would think there's nothing left on the island. The island, and I think that's what we felt, and the Navy felt, the Marine Corps felt that there's nothing left. It's going to be easy for us to take over. What they thought it was going to be and what it was of course two different things. They thought it would be a cakewalk to get up on the island, walk across it, and take the island over after all the bombing and shelling. But apparently, as you all know now, it wasn't. I can remember only one thing, if I may mention it, is I was approached by a gentleman dressed like in a brown uniform with no insignias, nothing, and just told me and knew my name and said, "Bob, don't worry, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna live to be a healthy old man." And I remember that to this day, and I don't know. I just can remember his dark brown, well ironed shirt that he was on, very military, no hat on, and looked me in the eye and said, "Bob, don't worry, you're going to be safe." And I swear to this day that happened before I climbed down that rope ladder.
Do you believe that was that man in uniform, was he like an angel, or was he an actual person?
I don't know of anybody I ever talked to regarding this in my unit, or who had left in my unit, that saw him or didn't see him. I know I will not say he was real or if he wasn't real. I don't know, but I do know that happened. It happened to me. It stayed with me constantly. That this was, it was no one I knew, no indication of what it was, except it was, I just noticed that beautifully ironed shirt that he wore, this dark brown shirt with no signias on it at all. But if he was real or not, I don't know. He wasn't a clergyman, because I felt he would have a cross or something on his collar or something to indicate him, or if he was a general or a captain or whatever, to have some kind of insignia, but he had none whatsoever. It was just a strange thing, and it's with me. I'll never forget landing on Iwo Jima. Them thoughts have been with me forever. Climbing down that rope ladder, I think, was an ordeal in itself. Getting down there and into the Higgins boat and moving on, there was a lot of fire on the island, on the beach itself. It wasn't as quiet as we saw it when we were aboard ship, and we knew there was going to be a lot of action as we hit the beach. And as we did hit the beach, and you could hear and feel the missiles flying over and around us, the one thing I do have to mention is, I see these guys jumping out of these Higgins boats and rushing up the island, and I'm saying, where are they getting the encouragement? How can they be doing this? But I found myself doing the same. And I wondered, how come I'm not afraid? But that is part of the training they gave us. I wasn't trained. I stepped over dead Marines. I almost excused myself for Marines that were wounded. I looked for shelter. I looked for a friend. But I never felt once that I was going to get hit. I'm looking to be scared, and I couldn't be. I can remember me walking past a man who was wounded. He was wounded in the back or something, and I found myself almost excusing myself for having to step over him to make it up this volcanic ash to where I thought I might have to go. Climbing up, being shot at, and not exactly knowing to go right or left, I found it the right thing to do was get to the base of Mount Suribachi. I knew that that is where my unit would be, or that's where they were going to cross to the other side of the island. I had that in mind. So going there, I did meet another Marine that was in my mortar section, and we found a blown out mine hole, which we jumped in, figure we would be safe. But unfortunately, as we learned later, that was called a fire field of the enemy. They had so many degrees to the left and so many degrees to the right that they could fire their weapon, and we were in that area of their firefighting. I did get a bomb hit close enough where we were blown out of that hole. Getting back, we dug that hole. We got in that hole and dug it a lot deeper, and that's where we stayed that whole night, wondering why our area got so much action. We were blown out of the foxhole twice that night, and we couldn't realize why our area was so important, but not realizing that we were in one of their fire lanes, that's the only place they could aim their artillery to. It was I'm going to say exciting night, not knowing what to do or where to go, but I don't think we got any sleep at all. We waited till the morning, and when things cleared up, and we started to move out from there. I think how we got reconnected to our company, I don't really remember. I just remember it wasn't where we were, and it wasn't near the base of the mountain. We did find it on the other side of the island. We found out where they were billeted, or where they were camped down. It was like the 20th, 21st of February. We finally realized that this wasn't going to be that cakewalk that we thought it would be. We have lost so many men on the initial invasion. There were so many dead all around us, and we were not prepared. They could just pop us off as they needed to be there. They killed an awful lot of our men and wounded an awful lot by these new tactics that the enemy was using. They were hiding in their holes until we got on, and then they would come out of their holes, and we were target practice to them. So we finally had to learn their tactics so we could use our tactics in getting them out of those holes, and that's what I did. You know, we moved up. We used our mortars on areas where they were. We forced them out of their holes with the mortars. We brought in the flamethrowers was the answer to most of the problem was the flamethrowers. We had to get the flamethrowers up. Of course, we had to protect the flamethrowers to get them up in position so they could do their job, throwing these flames into these holes. And we found that was the easiest and the best way to clean them out is by using fire. I don't remember actually seeing a live man burning, but I knew it was happening. To this day, I know it was happening as these flames were, shooting 50 feet into these holes, burning the enemy, and we couldn't get them out no other way. You couldn't shoot them out. You had to burn them out, and then that's what they were doing. But I saw a lot of dead, burnt Japanese. During the wartime, life doesn't mean too much. Life is not a priority. It's just doing what you're told to do, and you do it. That's the scary thing. I was wounded on the 23rd of February, 45. I can remember it because it was the same day of the first flag being raised on Mount Suribachi. I can remember and feeling and hearing the concussion that hit right below me as I felt myself kind of being shoved to a side, and I blacked out. To this day, as I speak right now, I can remember it and see it. I can remember me kind of getting up and strolling and seeing that my left leg was really full of a lot of blood coming from my left leg. And of course, I got scared to death. I didn't know. But what scared me worse than anything, I looked to my right, and there was two bodies there. The one was my best friend, John Gardell. I looked at him, and I wondered, I feel no remorse. I can feel nothing for him. As I look at him, and the back of his head is gone. And I'm not feeling sorry for him. I'm not having any feeling. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm already dead. I didn't know that. But I did realize that no, I wasn't dead. I was alive. And that I was hurt. And again, I didn't know how hard. It wasn't long that as they looked at these two bodies, these corpsmen looked at these other two bodies and found out they were both dead. They came to me and immediately put me on a stretcher, trying to get me out of, again, on this fire lane. That would, again, as we got into a fire lane, and when you get in one of them, God only knows how safe you be. Well, they were trying to get me out of this fire lane on this stretcher. As I leave the bodies, I can see me still looking at John and the other Marine, and I have to mention not feeling any remorse or anything for him. It was scary. Anyway, as I was being carried down, in the stretcher to a safe place. The front part of the steering fell. I fell out of the stretcher, and one of the corpsmen apparently, I'm going to use the word, lost it. He just curled up into a knot and was deadly silent. Now we're still in a fire lane, and the other guys, he don't know what to do. So actually, I crawled out or rolled out of the stretcher. Now, apparently, my wounds weren't that bad. I'm still walking on the leg. We helped this corpsman get on and get into this stretcher or lay in this stretcher, and we carried him out of, again, the fire lane, where he was safe. Well, we stayed there for the longest time and carried him maybe another closer to the beach, closer to safety, where he finally came back out of it. Then, well, here we are. At this time, I could see that flag waving up there, and I know, oh, the fighting is over. We've taken over the island. The war is over, or maybe the war is over for us. And I'm looking, well, the war should be over for me. I'm all full of blood here, thinking only good things. And here's this flag is flying, as I said. The two Navy guys are carrying me now back to to a hospital boat that's moored right there on the shoreline. They were going to take care of me. And now my mind finally goes back to John. John, now I felt a relief. I felt, John, your death meant something. You helped us capture this island, and it was worth it to some degree that you were part of that. And I felt good that your death was worth something. And I was taken, now I'm taken into Red Cross station or whatever it was, where they were taking care of me. There they told me that my wounds were not serious enough to be put on the main ship that's out in the bay. That was good news and bad news at the same time. First, my leg was going to be all right, but I didn't want to go back to the service. But I'm figuring, well, with the flag flying and everything, we were secure, so I didn't feel so bad about it. I fortunately had a good night's sleep on an army cot with blankets and everything, and just slept the night away. And they were telling me that I would have to go back and find my unit, but first go to field headquarters, and they directed me to field headquarters, and to go back. And they will direct me to where my unit is at this time. When I left that hospital boat, all bandaged up and going back, the flag was down. Well, all this happiness I had faded away. And the only thing I could think about, the Japanese have taken over the island again. Taken over the mountain, and we're in the middle of the battle. Being confused and still knowing what my orders are to get to the field getting to the field headquarters, I was on my way. A little after that movement, still moving in, say 20 minutes, 30 minutes after that, leaving the hospital, I looked up and there was another flag flying, only a bigger, a better, a brighter one. And here I am. Here was one flag up there. One day it was down. Now there's another flag flying, bigger and better. And not knowing what's going on up there, but I did know that we were back on top, and that certainly made me good. It made me feel good, especially when I went and reported to the field headquarters, which told me it's too late for you to go back to your unit or to find your unit now. You can stay here overnight, and in the morning we'll send you back to the B Company of the 5th Division. So now I've lost John. I understand why. We've got a flag flying. I'm thinking things are just about over. I'm in good spirits. And I thought, well, I could get a good night's sleep. So here again, they issued me the second night in a row, issued me an army cot where they gave me some blankets. And there I was, sleeping in a dugout, which was, I don't know, 100 feet by 100 feet, with a canvas top over it. And we were underground, so I thought, well, no problem at all. What happened, there was there was all kinds of explosions going on. And I'm thinking, oh boy, here's one of them bonsai runs from the Japanese that we haven't experienced yet here on the island. But I was told, no, it wasn't. It was one of our ammunition jumps caught fire and blew up, and the ammunition is blowing up. They're trying to get it all out of the way, but there's a lot of it they can't get to, and they're gonna let it blow up. So they're saying to stay below ground level, and we won't be hit with anything, any of our unexploded or explode up munitions. So we felt safe there. So we just off again and just time and again we hear an explosion, like, you know, this wasn't over yet. So I was back in my cot trying to get some sleep when there was an explosion. I didn't know, and I heard this kind of a thump and a rip, and as I'm laying there in my cot, I felt my legs fall through the canvas onto the ground. Half of my body laying on the ground, and my shoulders and the buttocks are still up on the army cot. I'm thinking, well, it must be some reaction to the wound I have in my leg, that this feeling I got. But I did finally realize that no, my legs are laying down on the ground, and the cot itself, crossbar, was split in half, and something was there that split it. So, being very frightened, I jumped up and ran up against the bulkhead, where I knew I could be protected from anything if anything else would start exploding. Not realizing what happened, I had to wait until light to find out what happened. And what happened was actually where and when I was sleeping, one of our landmines that exploded in the carton of landmines, which was 4 to 6 of them, exploded on the ground, flew up in the air, and another one exploded, hurling one of the landmines down through the canvas cot, hitting this crossbar and splitting my canvas. And there was an unexploded American landmine sitting below my canvas cot. And that scared the heck out of me. But I was in that when that happened, and I said, well, there goes another one. Saved again. But that was it. And so nothing could be said or done about it. They finally got demolition to clean up the unexploded landmine, and we got dressed, and I was then sent on my way to my unit. That's, you know, I had a story to tell, but I had nobody wanted to listen to it, you know. So, but I have that story, and it certainly did happen, and I'm a lucky guy for it. Now, you want to hear the best part of my whole deal with the rising of the flags, of the first flag, the raising of the second flag. Now it's up there for good, and being happy about it, and thinking the war's about over. I'm going back to my outfit. They sent me down through the airfield where my unit was at the very end of it, and that's where I would join, where my unit would be. And I felt, well, okay, I'm going to see my guys again, or what's left of my guys. With that, I hear a voice calling me and saying, hey, soldier, wait up, I'll walk with you. And here comes this man calling me and asked me, what happened, and I told him that I was wounded, but I wasn't wounded enough, and I was going back to my unit, and he said, it's the same way with me. I was in the hospital, I got my left leg is wounded, and I wasn't wounded enough to be put on the main ship. Now I'm going back to my outfit. Now he was a lieutenant at this time, and we just swapped stories about what happened to us during these few days in this campaign. And finally it was time for us to say goodbye. He was going off towards the beach, and I was going down to join my B company. And then at that time, as we were just a few away from each other, he asked me, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No, I know you're a lieutenant." He said, "No, I'm Angelo Mortelli." And I said, "Oh, that's good. I'm Bob Rickman. Nice to know you." He said, "You don't know who I am." And so he told me, he said, I was in 1943, I was a quarterback of Notre Dame. In that year, I received the Heisman Trophy. I was a Heisman Trophy winner. So now now being a football player in high school, I said, wow. Now I knew, I didn't really know of him or what he did for Notre Dame, but I was happy to know him, and to me it was the highlight of my Iwo Jima experiences, meeting this Heisman Trophy winner. It was, I guess I'm going to say an honor, but he turned out to be one heck of a guy. Not that we ever seen or heard of each other anymore since that, but it's just recently I read a little bit about his career, and he had a nice long life. Of course, as you can see, I'm still having a nice long life. So that was kind of an interesting story. It was a kind of interesting 24 hours from the time I got wounded and the flags. It's, how many people are left could say that they saw both flags up and one flag down, and I just feel I'm a very, very fortunate man to have that experience, with much, much more experiences to come. John Gardell was definitely my best friend. We really liked each other from the start. He was just one great big guy from, I don't know, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I don't know, he was, I guess, 6'2" or something like that, strong as an ox, but as sweet as a lamb. And I don't know if he was taking care of me or if I was taking care of him, but John, when I lost John, it's something that I'm going to carry my whole life, and I just wish I would have known him better. I just wish that I would have followed through knowing his family or something. The only thing I know about John, that he was Polish, and he loved me and I loved him, and I still, as I am, I'm still carry a piece of the shrapnel that killed him. I still carried it in my leg. John, I love you, and God bless you. It seems like what happened, a Japanese shell landed close to me, which I felt a concussion, and I think lost consciousness for just a few moments. The same shell that wounded me killed the other two Marines. I still have that piece of shrapnel in my leg. It's ironic, but I just feel I carried a little bit of John with me all the rest of my life. The last 80 years, you're still with me, John. God bless you. The walk after saying goodbye with Angelo wasn't a pleasant one. It seems like in this war, not only did we have soldiers that fought and tried to kill, we had soldiers that were enlisted or hired to clean up I'm going to use the word mess, that picked up the bodies, picked up the American bodies, and made a record of their dog tags, and make sure that they know who lived and who died. But in this particular area, I was walking past, and I cannot remember, or I do remember, not only were there Marines laying there dead, but also the enemy there dead. And the part that scared me is their bodies were there for a time where they were starting to blow up. It was starting to be scary. Now I'm here by myself, going to where all this commotion and firing is, and I'm passing all these bodies that, I'm going to use the word, they weren't cleaned up or buried yet. So, and with the dead, blown up bodies, I was totally confused. But I did finally meet my mortar squad, which I was so happy to be with. And they greeted me with open arms. "Oh, Bob, we're glad you're back," and all that. And I said, "I'm not glad I'm back. I wish I was aboard one of those hospital ships." But I'm asking them now, what's going on? And he said, "You didn't hear." And I said, "Well, what happened?" They said, "This ridge, which is 150 yards ahead of us there, just blew up." And I said, "Well, yes. We were moving up over this ridge and it all blew up. We have many Marines that are buried alive in there, or halfway buried, and we got other troops trying to dig them out of these holes. And our job is to keep the enemy away from the other side of this ridge, to keep them away from doing any more damage to us trying to get these troops out. So, but we cannot use our mortar because the range would be too close, too much of an angle to shoot the mortar up and straight down, too close to the objective. We had to take it out of the tripod and hold it with our hands to guide the shell just over this ridge. We used and shot up all of our ammunition, and apparently we were cited with the fact that we were instrumental in holding the enemy back at that time by this method. Of course, it got our hands a little hot, but it was well worth it. That was a very scary few moments. But
what is it like holding these mortar tubes with your bare hands?
Well, I think what you're thinking about, you got a lot of people's lives in your hands. That tube got almost white hot. The gloves that we were issued just wouldn't handle it. We got burnt pretty badly trying to aim it, but we did get the job done. Thank God.
And how did the ridge blow up in the first place?
Well, it was where the enemy was storing some of their ammunition, and they felt that would be the best way is to stop us from moving in that direction by blowing it up. They blew up their own ammunition dump to bury our men. But incidentally, if I may say, we cleared everybody that was buried out of there, safe and sound. Nobody died of being smothered by the volcanic ash. Pardon me. That is one of the times that we did see the amount of damage that we did do, as we did move over the remainder of that ridge. There was quite a few enemy that was on the other side that was dead, and I don't know. A lot of them have moved out, but we did take over that particular area. We accomplished our mission, and I have to laugh. That was my first one after I had my wound. I give credit to the guys that had the confidence in us that the mortar shells would land just on the other side of that ridge, which was around a 30 to 40 yard span that we had to drop these mortars. But it wasn't we've practiced that before. It wasn't new to us. We knew just where and how far they could go. And of course, like I said, the ground troops had confidence in us because they were still digging out their guys that were buried in this stuff, getting them out of there. And we were keeping the enemy from distracting them from them freeing our troops. We were behind a ridge, and there was a little space that we could go to. It was covered one end by some rocks, but we had to get through it. It was about, I'd say, a 30 or 40 yard area. On the other side was one of our tanks. This is in the middle of the campaign. Now we got tanks there. There's a tank waiting for us because we're kind of bogged down in this area. Now we had to go through this pathway, and we would be safe getting behind one of our tanks. We sat Parks to go forward as he was making a run from our position to behind that tank. In the middle of his run, a spider hole opened up with a Japanese in it with a rifle, firing with his rifle raised to fire it as he raced out of a hole, which his hole was right in the middle of that path. With that, Parks jumped over this guy that raised up, and that is the one time my carbine was there to kill that person in that hole. But then my memory only remembers him jumping over, running and seeing him pop up. He jumps over him to get behind the tank, and I'm still covered over here, and I had the shot at the guy. That was an easy one. There was some that you shoot at and you don't know if you hit them or not, and stuff like that. But with the mortar section and things we did with the mortars, we had we used the mortar a lot on the island to clear out areas, to get our troops ready to go in with the flamethrowers. That was a constant thing, and we were constantly shot at. We were a menace to them. That mortar section, we were shot at a lot, but again, we were protected more than the ground troops. We were dug in pretty good, but the amount of kills we had, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think nobody wants to think about that. Killing another person. But during the service, you don't have that kind of a feeling. They're the enemy. The enemy has to go, and of course, they went.
What was that like to be in that position where you had to get so close to the enemy to shoot them? What did that do to you?
I had no feeling, none. I had no feeling. Well, so it was part of it was what I was trained to do. You're the enemy. I'm not the enemy. I've tried to shoot you before you shoot me. That's all. And if I'm lucky enough to get you before you get me, That's all, you know. You're not a human being. I'm not thinking you're human or anything like that. You're the enemy. Enemy, that's all. You have to be killed. I'm here to do that to you. They taught me, kill or be killed, as we said it before. And it was no feeling whatsoever. I have no idea where my shells hit that Japanese person, but I know he wasn't alive when I walked around the hole. I would say I glanced in the hole, but it was, you know, it was just it wasn't a tunnel. It was just where he was. The only way out is this way, and he was not moving that way. But that I'm sorry to say this, and there was never no. All these bodies, you know, the bodies a little bit upset me with the ones that were blown up. Now I want to know why. It's the bodies of the American troops that weren't taken care of. The bodies weren't taken care of properly. Bothered me. That bothered me. This body should be removed and put in a hole and covered up, put in a box or whatever you put it with a dead person in it, and be able to be shipped back. There was one incident I'll never forget, and I don't know. I look at it as if, how did this happen, or what happened? Anyway, we were forced down to near the end of the campaign, and we knew the end was coming. And of course, as we knew the end was coming, all of us were trying to be more careful from day to day, knowing that, hey, we finally made it, and we're probably in a few days we're going to be off this island. Well, this one particular night that I remember, myself and my buddy found a not a man-made, but a nature-made foxhole. This nature-made foxhole would fit one person perfectly and say a half a person. So this was just the greatest place for us to stay this particular night, which is very important to us. You know, if we lived through a night, you know, the day, if we took care of ourselves, we would be taken care of. So my job was, as I would see, that if I laid in my part of the foxhole, there was a portion of me that would be shown at night. Now, as you know, nighttime in a war zone is as bright as day. These flares are constantly going up, and there's not a time that there isn't light shining, like just as bright as if the sun was shining right on you. I found some boulders, say as big as a football, and I built these boulders around my part of this nature-made foxhole that I only could fit the bottom part of my body in, that I could lean on the part that was part of a shield, a rock formation, that I could just have to take care of the right side of me. So building these little rocks, these rocks about the size of a football, in only for sight. Now, it wouldn't stop a bullet, but if the lights went on and there was any enemy walking around out there, they wouldn't see me because I was hidden by the rocks that I piled up. So this particular evening, I am dozing off, as I always did, and it was getting easier and easier to sleep at night, because now we're in there almost, I would say, over 30 days or 30 nights. We're going through this. I'm laying there falling asleep, and with leaning up against my rock formation, and I feel something warm against my cheek. And opening my eyes, I could see that there was another cheek against my cheek. And I could feel the air coming out of the nostrils of his nose. Now, you have to understand, visualize this. I'm raising myself up over these rocks. This particular person is going down around over the rocks, looking in for, apparently for water or some food. But of course, not knowing, I've visually seen this, I gasped. And with that gasp, I rose my legs up, hitting this pile of little boulders, hitting this person who was leaning up against these boulders, and knocking him over. And knocking him over, he fell, say, just a few feet away. With that commotion and the light from these flares, there was a lot of gunfire, friendly gunfire, our gunfire. And I also fired in the direction of where I thought this body was. And it wasn't again until light that we went out to see there was a Japanese person dead there with a German Luger pistol in his one hand. And now I'm just realized that his face and my face were cheek to cheek. You know, like I said, he wanted to give me a kiss or something, but the poor guy died in vain or whatever he died of, but he died. I think that my friend was the closest I ever came to. I almost got kissed by the enemy, but he paid the price. I tried to claim the kill, but that was impossible. I guess to train to kill, I would have loved to have that German Luger, but somebody else got it, and well, that was okay. But that was really one of the last times, one of the last real experiences I had, and I guess one of the worst of all the ones I've had in that 35 days that I was there was having that guy stick his head in my hole or over my rock formation, you know, trying to find something to eat or drink. And I guess that's all I got to say about that.
That's incredible. And so he stuck his head, and he obviously didn't know you were there, but when he felt you, why do you think he didn't do anything?
He's sneaking his head over the rocks. His arms are not, his pistol is not. You know, them is on the other side of the rocks, and he's looking down into the hole, halfway crawling, and that's where my face is, right up against the rocks. If you can see my action here, I'm leaning up against here. He's coming from here, and I feel right here. This is as close to me as he was, right here. And to this day, I have that picture in my mind of the nostrils. I said I can see the steam coming out. I don't believe I can. I think my mind is playing tricks with me. I don't think I really was steam, but it was air coming out of those nostrils. And then especially when I went up with the rocks on my back, hitting him probably in the mid-side, if he was halfway crouched or on his knees or whatever. But I did knock him over. He might have been too weak to fight, or I don't know, but I did knock him over, but my rock foundation went with him, and then he was dead. He was killed by some bullets that hit him. I'm asked a lot of times, does anything ever bother me, or do I think about the war? And I really said there was nothing. It was just, something we had to do, and we did it. But I do remember that, and I think I remember too much of them nostrils coming out, like I'm seeing hot air coming out of those nostrils. I'm seeing everything now, every day. But he was right there next to me with a beard. He had quite a beard. I could feel that. I would like to tell you about Ed Reed, one of the Marines I served with. That's a day I will never forget. But I will never, the reason I will not forget it is because I'm just thinking of my reaction. Just what in the world did you do? How did you feel? That's the thing I think about. Not what happened to him. Well, anyway, apparently we're in an area where we've done whatever we did. We've made our move. We've cleaned out a few holes. We're moving down the island, trying to clean up everybody. And now we're down for the night. And of course, like everybody else, you have to eat. You got to relieve yourself, and there's things like that happens. Well, apparently, you would just think Reed had to relieve himself, and he went in an area where he shouldn't have, and he stepped on a Japanese landmine, which exploded and really got him. Now, it just didn't take off a leg or an arm. It took off 2 legs, took off 2 arms. Now here you are, a little fine, little cute, I would call him, he was a cute little guy. I might have a picture of him somewhere. I know a picture somewhere of him. Laying there with no arms or legs or stubs or blood. And what do you think about? Well, he's losing blood. I took off my belt, and to this day, I don't know what part of the body I put it on, but I did. To this day, I can't stand somebody put a needle in me. You know what I mean? I can't look at somebody sticking a needle in me. I get frightened. But here I am, doing something like that, which it wasn't for long because the corpsmen came and did their share and took the body away. Still alive, He was conscious, He was conscious and, and moving. His arms and his shoulders and his legs and hips were moving, trying to, and it was just a terrible thing. The thing is, the way we handle it, it's like, and you're thinking, what are you thinking? You're thinking, boy, I'm glad it's not me. I'm glad I didn't go over there and try to go to the bathroom. It was war. War, and we were trained for it. The Marine Corps trained us for this. You're here to kill or be killed. That's it. That's why you're here. Kill or be killed. Protect your country. It seemed like it was forever, but finally we could say we finally occupied and secured this island of Iwo Jima. And we were ready to leave. And I wish I could express the feelings I had when the job was completed, and here I am in one piece and on my way back to Hawaii. Now, from there, I didn't know where we were going or why, but Iwo Jima was over with, and we completed our job. It did take some weeks back in Hawaii, and if you remember, the bomb went off. Well, with that, we were back there in Hawaii preparing to attack Japan. So, when this happened, you have no idea how how elated the Marines were that this happened and that the Japanese had surrendered. But anyway, my outfit, instead of going there and have to attack, we went there as a unit to occupy. It's a lot easier to occupy a country than it is to capture it. I spent about 2 months in Japan and found the people there very cordial, and as we were, as Marines, they were happy the war was over. If they won it or lost it, you could tell that the Japanese people were very happy that it was over, and that was the main thing. The war was over. And that is that finally I did get my 76 points, and I was on my way home, back to the United States. Being aboard a ship, I might still be in Japan if it wasn't for all of the Marine war dogs. I guess there must have been, I would say at least 100, and their kennels. These war dogs were put on first class on this small little ship that was heading back to the States. And here I was put in the third class or whatever class. But anyway, the dogs got first class, but I was happy for the dogs. They were going home, and so was I. It took about 6 or 7 days to get back from Japan to San Francisco, but it was seasick, but a happy journey for me. The shrapnel hit me throughout my leg, and most of it right up underneath my kneecap here on this side. I do have a piece of shrapnel which is documented, and it is laid up beneath this here kneecap of mine right here, right into here. And unfortunately, it's really not a lot of problems. But you know, as I just touch it right here, I can feel a little tenderness here, and I don't know if it's moving around or if it's coming back or what. You know, but it's there. It's there. After 80 years, I'm looking for that little piece of shrapnel. But it's definitely still there. And other than that, I just have, with that explosion there, I don't know if and when I buckled or not buckled my helmet, but I do know my helmet was off, and I did have some small bloody areas here. You can see scratches. You can see scratches in my helmet where the concussion came up, apparently blew the hat off, scratched the helmet, and came back down and entered or just pricked my forehead. I think it hit my helmet first and came back down and just touched my forehead where there was a lot of blood, but you cut yourself shaving more than what happened to my forehead. I'd like to show you some of the pictures that I had during the war, like this one here. This is a picture of me and John. We're holding that mortar, and behind us there is our sergeant, Sergeant Gale. Very nice young man. And between that is, if I may, I'd love to show you a few more. Like here is John, the one I lost, the one that was killed just a few days after we entered Iwo Jima. As you can see, that tripod, if you can remember, we held this is the tripod we held by hand when all this didn't work for us. We were firing too close over a ridge, and all this we had to get rid of so they could fire this here thing. I still think I have burns on my hand from holding that thing. Here's a nice soft picture of all of us. This is a nice group of these men, and our sergeant, who he was never alone without his pipe. If he was there, his pipe was there.
Big smile.